Today, we're diving into a high-stakes legal battle that really puts our whole judicial appeals system to the test. It's a fascinating case where timing is absolutely everything, and a clever procedural maneuver could potentially just wipe out the right to be heard in court. So the whole thing really boils down to the events of one single morning. And here's the kicker. This all happened while the homeowner's appeal was already active, already in the hands of the Idaho Supreme Court. This wasn't just some random day. It was a strategically chosen moment that would end up sparking some huge constitutional questions. And this timeline, wow, it just lays the conflict bare. Picture this. At 9 a.m., you've got the homeowner, Jeremy Bass, literally at the courthouse trying to get a judge to stop his eviction. But at the exact same time, a massive law enforcement presence, 7 sheriff's vehicles, is already in motion to enforce that very eviction. It was a race, a flat-out race between a man seeking the court's protection and a creditor racing to execute a judgment. And we need to be crystal clear about what was on the line here. This wasn't just about a building. We're talking about a huge chunk of someone's life savings, an estimated $305,000 in equity that he built up over 2 decades. All of it just hanging in the balance of these procedural games. Okay, so how in the world did we get here, and what does it all mean? Let's break it down. We'll start with that crazy race against time. Then we'll get into the clever legal move they used, called the Mootness gambit. After that, we'll see how the homeowner fought back, dive into the conflicting legal precedents, and, finally, zoom out to see why this isn't just one person's fight, it's a major test for our entire justice system. All right, first up, that race against time. The absolute core of this issue is the timing of the eviction. By moving in while the case was already under the appeal court's watch, the plaintiffs basically created what lawyers call a fait accompli. It's a done deal. They took an irreversible action, the eviction, to try and make the court's final word pointless before the court could even say it. Now, this race against the clock wasn't just a random act. It was the linchpin of their entire legal strategy. It's a procedural maneuver where the physical act of kicking someone out is used as a weapon to try and kill the appeal before it can even be heard. This is what we're calling the mootness gambit. So to really get what they're doing, you have to understand this legal idea called mootness. Imagine asking a referee to rule on a play after the game is already ended and everyone's gone home. The ref would just say, "What's the point?" That's kind of what mootness is. If the court problem is already solved, the court says the case is moot. And in this situation, the plaintiffs are trying to use that idea as a sword. So their argument boils down to this. Jeremy Bass is out of the house. So the fight over who gets the house, it's over. Case closed. They're basically saying that physical possession is the only thing that matters, and now that they have it, the court should just pack it up and dismiss the whole appeal. And here's where we start to see the really big picture. As one legal observer pointed out, this isn't just some one-off legal trick. If this actually works, it could become a playbook, a roadmap for others to just bypass the courts by being quick on the draw. So, faced with this gambit, Jeremy Bass, who, by the way, was representing himself, put together this really smart 3-part counterattack to keep his appeal from getting tossed out. Bass's filing basically says, look, even if I'm not physically in the house, this case is far from over. He points to the massive amount of money he lost, some well-known exceptions to that mootness rule, and the court's own fundamental power to make things right. So let's dig into those exceptions. First, you've got the huge financial hit. Losing over $300,000 is a very real injury the court can't just ignore. Second, there's this really interesting legal idea for situations that are capable of repetition, yet evading review. Basically, the court has to step in when a tactic like this could be used over and over again to dodge the legal process. And third, and this is huge, it's a matter of public interest. This is about the integrity of the whole system, not just one house. And this brings us to his most powerful point. Bass is reminding the court of its own power. He's citing past Supreme Court cases to say, you have the authority to actually undo this eviction. You can put me back in my home because it was taken while you were supposed to be deciding the case. So this all boils down to a classic legal showdown, a clash over precedent. Both sides are pointing to past cases to back themselves up, but wow, are they leaning on totally different kinds of authority? And the contrast is just staggering. On one side, you have Bass, who's built his case on a solid foundation of multiple binding decisions from the state's highest court. And on the other side, the plaintiffs are banking everything on a single unpublished opinion from a lower court. And get this, it's from a case where the homeowner just gave up and handed over the keys. A completely different situation. So this fight really climbs up the legal ladder. It stops being just about property law and starts asking some really fundamental questions about our rights and the inherent power of our courts. And it all comes down to this. Does this whole race to evict tactic basically cancel out your constitutional right to an appeal? I mean, think about it. If they can take your property before a higher court even gets to review your case, did you ever really have a meaningful right to appeal in the first place? And you can see from what he's asking for, this is about something bigger than just his home. He's asking the court to draw a line in the sand. He wants them to say loud and clear that this kind of strategic mooting, this game of using timing to make a case vanish, is not okay. He's trying to protect the system for everyone. So in the end, this case is way bigger than just one house or one person. It's really a stress test for our entire appeal system.
The Idaho Supreme Court is basically staring down 4 very different roads, and whichever one they take is going to set a huge precedent. They could just dismiss the appeal, which would give a green light to this whole strategy. Or they could push back. They could find an exception, use their inherent power to fix the situation, or maybe even come up with a totally new solution. A lot is riding on this decision.
Which leaves us with the one question that's been hanging over this entire fight. Can our courts, the very foundation of our justice system, be outplayed by a simple trick of timing? The court's final decision is going to be the answer.